For most of my life, I wasn't really afraid to be myself. I figured out pretty young that everyone is mostly busy with their own life. Nobody's watching you as closely as you think they are. And that set me free. It let me do what I wanted, wear what I wanted, be a little strange without worrying too much about it. But there was one place that freedom never reached. That place was speaking. Not one-on-one with one or two people, a friend across the table. I'm fine, I'm completely myself, but put me in a group with everyone's attention on me, waiting for me to say what I think, and I would freeze. I wouldn't even have an opinion anymore. I'd just sit there scared I'd say the wrong thing, or that I know what I meant, but I didn't know how to say it. And maybe that goes all the way back to being an immigrant child who had to learn a whole new language and spent years of feeling like an outsider who couldn't quite say what she meant. I don't fully know. But that fear of speaking up in a group, in a classroom, or on stage, on camera, it has followed me for a long time, and it still shows up sometimes. Here's the thing I eventually understood. I was never really afraid of being seen. I post things, I show my face online. Being looked at was never the problem. What scared me was being myself, saying what I actually think, choosing my own direction and standing behind it with my own voice and nothing borrowed to hide behind. And those are two completely different fears. Maybe you've heard this before. You're not afraid of being seen. You're afraid of being yourself. Here's a little bit of my background story regarding this topic. I'm self-employed. I already had a real business, one I had built myself, my design business, focusing on Amazon listing design. But I always wanted more. I wanted to grow it online, on social media, then I wanted to add brand design to it and get more attention, more clients, make good money in a way that felt exciting and free. And every time I sat down to actually do that, to show up online as me, I would hit this wall. So instead of pushing through it myself, I would go find someone who already had what I wanted. Someone successful, living the life I was dreaming about, and I would basically hand them my decisions. Teach me your system, show me how you did it, tell me who I should be. So I kept looking out for new strategies and buying coaching, program after program, each one promising to be the thing that finally got me there. It was a bit like shiny object syndrome. The next new thing always looked like the answer. And every time I signed up for something new, I felt relieved. Like, okay, good, now I have a plan. Now I can relax and just follow it step by step all the way to success. I would throw myself into it completely, do all the work and feel like I was finally on the right track. And then it would end, the program, the coaching, whatever it was, and almost right away I would crash. All my energy for it would just drain out, because the truth is, it was never really mine to begin with. I was running on someone else's fuel, and the second they were gone, so was I. And for a long time, I told myself I just hadn't found the right one yet, the right coach, the right strategy, the right plan, that if I kept looking, eventually I would find the one that actually worked for me. But that wasn't really what was going on. I wasn't searching for something better. I was avoiding something. And the thing I was avoiding was I didn't want to slow down and be alone with my own thoughts, because all of it kept me busy. And I was already busy. I had my business, my design business, I had clients. That alone was a full plate, but I kept stacking more on top of it. A new coaching program to grow my social media, a new plan to grow the business, or worse, a whole different kind of business right next to the one I already had. The strategies kept me focused, posting every day kept me moving, and as long as I was moving, I never had to sit in the quiet and answer the one question that actually scared me. What do I want to say if no one hands me the framework? That question is terrifying, because in the silence, there are no excuses left. It's just you and what you really think. And I would do almost anything to avoid that, including paying a lot of money to stay busy. Now here's something I only understood later. I wasn't really paying for skills. I already had skills. That was never the thing I was missing. Yes, of course I was paying for the other person's experience and reassurance, but also for something else. When I realized what I was really paying for, after doing lots of journaling and soul searching in the beginning of this year, everything made so much more sense. I was paying for permission. Permission to want a bigger life, to believe I could be more than I was, to want the money and the visibility without feeling guilty or vain about it. And also to be allowed to show up as myself, post what I wanted, charge what I wanted, build my business my own way. I wanted someone with a nice life to look at me and say, yes, you're allowed. And at some point deep in one of those programs, I asked one of my coaches straight out, do you really think I can do this? Do you think I could build this and be this person? And the second the question left my mouth, I already knew the answer. There was this hesitation in me. And for the longest time, I thought that hesitation was fear. But it wasn't fear. It was something quieter. It was my gut saying, this isn't right for me. Not this way. This isn't really mine. And looking back, I had felt that exact same quiet no before. When I tried to build a business selling physical products years ago and it never quite fit, or when a coach told me to keep my business in one particular language because that's where the clients were, even though something in me already wanted to do it differently, every time the same quiet voice, I just kept overruling it. And here's the difference I really wish I had understood years earlier. Fear and intuition can feel similar, but they don't sound the same. Fear is loud and it's in a hurry. It says, decide now, you'll miss out. This is your one chance. Fear speeds you up. Intuition is quiet. It just says, something's off. I don't recognize myself in this. And it slows you down. Every time I felt rushed into a yes, there was fear. And the quiet hesitation underneath it, the one I kept brushing aside, that was the truth. So why did I keep ignoring it? Why did I keep reaching for someone else's plan when I had a perfectly good gut of my own? And this is the part I find really interesting now looking back, because someone else's plan comes with an escape hatch. If you follow their steps and it works, great, you did it right. You were a good student. And if it doesn't work, well, you can tell yourself it was the strategy, not you. Either way, you're off the hook. But the moment you do something that's fully yours, your voice, your call, your way, that escape hatch disappears. If it works, it's yours. And if it fails, that's yours too. There's nobody left to point at. And that's the thing I was really avoiding, not being seen, being the one responsible for being me. And there's another piece to it. When I booked those coaching programs, I told myself, of course I can afford this. I'm someone who's going to make way more than this one day. And maybe that's true, but I was acting like that person before I had actually become her. Now, I'm not saying don't ever invest in yourself. I have, and some of it changed my life. One thing I paid for years ago wasn't even about what I do today, and it still led me through the work and the clients I have now. Investing in yourself is real. The difference is what you think you're buying. Skills, knowledge, a new way of seeing things, those are worth paying for. But you can't buy your way into being a bigger version of yourself. You can't shortcut becoming her. That part you have to grow into slowly and from the inside. And I'm still working on this one too. And my gut kept trying to tell me this, but in little ways I kept brushing it off. I did want to grow on Instagram. I cared about the numbers. I wanted them to go up like everyone says you should. And they did. I gained a few thousand followers. But then I noticed something. Nothing had actually changed. The number was bigger, but there was no real community behind it. No real connection. Not yet. Just a bigger number. Now I know you can grow on social media fast through viral videos, but the real connection to your community still needs more time to grow deeper. So what's the rush anyway? And that's when it hit me that the thing I had been chasing wasn't the thing I actually wanted at all. So at some point I stopped. I just got quiet for a while and slowly stopped waiting for someone to hand me permission. And I started doing the work and the projects I wanted to do from the start. And here's what surprised me. For years, I thought I had to turn myself into some new, better, more successful person. But I didn't. I didn't need a new me. I just needed to clear away all the borrowed stuff I piled on top. All the other people's styles and plans and identities I had been trying to wear. And underneath all of it, the real me was just sitting there. She had been there the whole time. I had just buried her under everybody else. And I don't want to say never learn from anyone. Getting help isn't the problem. The question is why you're doing it. Are you learning something to bring back to your own work? Or are you handing over your whole self because you're scared to be in charge of it? Take the advice, learn the skills, and then come back to your own lane, because your own voice really is the best guide you have. And if you're someone who wants to put yourself out there on Instagram, on YouTube, wherever, you build something that's actually yours, but you keep freezing or waiting until you feel ready, here's what's actually helped me. The first thing is I let things be unfinished and I post them anyway. I stopped waiting for the perfect plan, the perfect framework before I let myself speak. I let my thinking be seen while it's still forming, which is basically what I do with this YouTube account now. And it's what I practiced with my 180-day posting challenge on Instagram back in 2025, just showing up every day and posting, even when it wasn't perfect. And the second thing is I changed the question I ask before I share something. I used to ask, will this work? Will it get views? Will it grow? Now I try to ask, is this true for me? So instead of making a video because the strategy says the topic performs well, I make the one I actually want to make, even if it's smaller and even if it's quieter. And here's why that matters. When you only chase what works, you teach yourself to feel safe only when other people approve. But when you start telling your truth in small ways and you survive it, and you notice that nothing terrible actually happens, you slowly teach your body that being honest and that your opinion isn't dangerous. That part takes time, and I'm still in it. The one thing that helped me most came from my very first mentor years ago. She told me it would be selfish to keep my talents to myself. And she said the reason I get so nervous showing up is that I'm focused on me, on how I look, on what people will think. The second you turn it around and think about the person on the other side and how you might help them, the fear gets a lot quieter because it stops being about you. So if any of this sounds familiar, here's the one thing I'll leave you with. The next time you catch yourself about to hand your decision over to someone else, about to ask them whether you're allowed, stop for a second and ask yourself this. Do I actually not know what to do here? Or do I already know and I'm just scared to be the one who decides? Because most of the time, somewhere underneath, you already know. And here's what took me way too long and too much money to figure out. I was never afraid of being seen. I was afraid of being myself. And that's the one thing nobody else can ever give you permission for. You have to give it to yourself. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And I'll see you in the next one.